Macmillan Audio presents Splinter Effect by Andrew Ludington. Read for you by Roger Wayne. Alexandria, Egypt, 2018 CE. Rabbit Ward crashed into the protective glass cylinder as the time machine jerked him back to the present. Reflexively, he looked over his shoulder for Pharaoh's soldiers, but they were gone, left behind in the desert 2,000 years ago. He'd pushed it too close this time. A moment later, and he would have spent the rest of his life in Roman-occupied Egypt. She'd gotten him again. "Welcome back, Rabbit. You look terrible." The cylinder depressurized with a hiss, rose from its recess in the floor, and retracted into the ceiling. The snark belonged to Ian March, the team's technical lead. He grinned at Rabbit from behind the raised semicircle of control consoles. Rabbit returned the smile and saluted him with his middle finger. "In your dreams." Ian laughed and resumed his work with the two junior techs who ran the equipment with him. Rabbit straightened as the cramp in his side subsided and scrubbed his short hair with one hand. It was as clean as it had been when he left 20 days ago. The first rule of time travel? Nothing returns to the present that didn't start there. That included the grime that had caked his body in 48 BCE when he sprinted into the circle of stones he left to mark his spot. He envisioned a rabbit-shaped cloud of dirt and undigested food slopping to the ground in the remote palm grove. Must have scared the hell out of his pursuers. The Egyptian National Time Dilator in Alexandria looked like something from a sci-fi film, but it was functionally identical to more utilitarian models. Everything on the platform went back in time. Everything that made it back to the same patch of ground 20 days later came back home. Everything else was superficial. But what the hell? Time machines were incredibly expensive to own and operate. If Egypt wanted to trick theirs out in stainless steel and glass, who was Rabbit to judge? The physician stepped onto the platform and began to examine him. Rabbit complied without concern. Apart from fatigue and a few bruises, he knew he was fine. While Rabbit's appearance wouldn't turn any heads, he was middle weight, middle height, ethnically hard to pin down, all of which helped him blend in across eras. He had the kind of practical, workhorse body that seemed to be designed to take abuse, and that had taken far worse over the years. He stuck out his tongue for the doctor's inspection as a fashionably dressed woman approached from behind the control console. "How'd it go?" "It was interesting." Rabbit raised his arms at the silent behest of the doctor. "I like interesting, man. I like interesting books. But, honey, I am far less fond of interesting time travel." "What happened?" Neither her quip nor her Tennessee twang could hide the anxiety in her voice. Patty Jo West, PJ to her friends, had been the collection's curator for the National History Museum in D.C. for 3 decades. She had been Rabbit's boss and friend for 2 of those. He had seen her through 2 divorces and the untimely death of her eldest daughter. He knew her tone as well as anyone. Rabbit lowered his arms and turned his head to let the doctor look in his ears. "Maybe we should discuss this on the way to the excavation." 2 hours later, PJ and Rabbit were sitting in the back of a white SUV, traveling south on Wadi al-Natrun el-Alamein Road. The sun shone brightly outside, but the tan interior was a steady 68 degrees. Through the window, farmlands at the outskirts of the Nile Valley were giving way to desert. Rabbit glanced at the driver. He appeared to be fixated on the road, which was exactly what it would look like if he were eavesdropping. PJ saw his glance. "Mito, honey, would you put on some music?" With a nod, the driver flipped on the radio. Egyptian pop filled.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?